everyone, and welcome to Preemie Chats, a space where we connect, learn, and share stories about the world of prematurity. I'm Fabiana Bacchini. I'm a proud Preemie parent and executive director of the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation, as known as CPBF, and I'm so honored to have you join us here today. Preemie Chats is brought to you by CPBF, a parent-led charitable organization dedicated to supporting families, advocating for the needs of premature babies, and providing the latest information and resources to help parents and caregivers navigate this journey. Whether you are a parent, healthcare professional, researcher, or someone interested in understanding more about preterm birth, you are in the right place. Together, we are building a supportive community where stories are shared, questions are answered, and new evidence is explored, and no one feels alone. Be sure to visit our website, canadianpreemies.org, where you'll find helpful resources, our latest projects, and most importantly, a community of people who want to see our little babies thrive. If you're watching us live today, please join the conversation, share your questions and your comments, and we'll try to address them at the end of our program. If you're watching a recorded session, you can still participate by visiting and connecting with us through our website, which is the canadianpreemies.org. It is through meaningful discussions like this one that we advance practice and learn together. So let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And today we're going to talk a very special project, the Butterfly Project. We'll discuss how this Butterfly Project impacts and supports families during their grief after losing one of their twins or triplets. How can something so simple make such a powerful difference? The purple butterfly is a symbol of remembrance and allows the families the opportunity to feel their baby is remembered while protecting them from unnecessary comments or conversations. It is now a globally recognized symbol and is used proudly by hospitals around the world. And I have here, joining us live from London, England, the founder of the Skye High Foundation in United Kingdom and in US, Millie Cann. After losing one of her twins, Skye, in 2016, Millie created a foundation to help support families during and after the loss of a twin, a triplet or multiples, by providing the Butterfly Cot Card resource and memory box to hospitals around the world. Millie has also partnered with Professor Nicholas Ambleton and the neonatal research team to share their research work on the Butterfly Project. Millie, thank you so much for joining us here today. It is such an important conversation, and it's such a beautiful project that I'm so excited for you to share with our families here in Canada and many other people watching us from around the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to kind of talk through my story and also the story of our charity. So I thought the best way to talk you guys through everything was really to talk you through the journey that I've been on to create the charity and the experience I had, and now the impact of the purple butterfly is having around the world. So my name is Millie. I am the founder of the Skye High Foundation, which is a charity set up in the UK. And we are also a 501c3 non-profit registered in the US. I set up the UK charity back in 2016. As Fabiana mentioned, sadly, after the loss of one of my twins. And I set up the US charity at the beginning of this year, and we're starting to work through that. Talking through my story, so I found out I was pregnant with identical twin girls back in 2015. I went for a private scan and I was told that I was having identical twins. And for a very short kind of 4 weeks, I had real excitement. As you can see from the messages I was sending to my friends, we were all very excited about having twins. And it was kind of a bit of a roller coaster of a journey, trying to adjust to the fact that I was going to have 2 babies coming home. And once I had just started to get my head around that, I then went for an NHS scan and the hospital scan, where I was told that unfortunately one of my twins had a life-limiting condition called anencephaly, which is where the top of the skull hadn't formed properly. I found this out at my 12-week scan. So I knew from a very, very early stage that Sadly, one of my twins wasn't going to be coming home with me. And then the rest of the journey was really kind of adjusting to that. I'd had a few weeks of excitement and started to mentally prepare to have 2 babies. And then sadly, very quickly had kind of learned that I was only going to be bringing 1 home. I reflect on this time quite a lot, actually. And what I thought continuously throughout my pregnancy was that although I was in a very unlucky and very sad situation, I was also very lucky to have an understanding of what the outcome was going to be. And I remember thinking vividly during that time that how families must feel if they have the excitement throughout their pregnancy that they are going to bring both babies home. And then that doesn't happen. So I'd already started thinking at sort of 12, 16, 18 weeks pregnant that I wanted to try and make a bit of a difference in the world. I started first of all by contacting an organ donation team, and the plan was to donate Skye's organs. And that was my way of kind of giving back and trying to make a difference for another family. I fell very quickly into kind of a way of wanting to make something good out of this. And how could I give back to the world? How could I make something better for someone else? And organ donation was the route that I was hoping to go. Unfortunately, the twins were born at 30 weeks, which made that impossible. So I went into preterm labour at 30 weeks, and I was lucky to have an incredible bereavement midwife by my side. Her name was Jo. She was introduced me at 16 weeks and kind of helped me through that pregnancy throughout. The girls were born obviously very early, and they were weighing £2.3 and £2.8. Skye was born alive, and I was able to spend the next sort of 3-4 hours with her in a bereavement room. Callie, my surviving twin, was whisked off to neonatal. Very quickly, I never actually got to see her because I had an emergency cesarean. So I never actually got to see my twins together. And that is something I think about quite a lot. I never got to see them together, both alive, sadly, or after Skye had passed away. There was an amazing midwife, Jo, that I mentioned, that had helped us through that journey. And without her, I can't imagine what it would have been. But I remember thinking how unfair this was, and that other people were leaving with 2 babies and I wasn't. Even though I'd had that time to prepare, it really hit me that something needed to change. I wasn't going to be able to go out and make a change and save every baby in the world. So I really started to think on what difference I could make. The midwife Jo here, as you can see, was supporting me through the entire pregnancy. And then quite quickly after, as I said, Skye was born alive, and we managed to spend quite a lot of time with her in the operating theatre, and then obviously also in the bereavement room. My husband was able to actually take Skye into the neonatal ward, so I was able to get a photo of both of the babies together. I will skip past that because I'm aware that for some people they may not want to see that photo, but both of the babies were alive at that time. So for me, having those photos was so important, and it's a picture I look back on all of the time, and I'm so grateful to have those photos. But really, they're the only things I kind of have left other than the memory boxes I have. Callie then spent the following 8 weeks in the neonatal unit in intensive care, followed by the other rooms. And this was really where the purple butterfly story started. So I remember spending hours and hours a day in this unit. And I would spend any time I'd get dropped off at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would stay till 8, 9 o'clock most days, sat by her bedside and trying to do what any mum can do in neonatal and build a bond, which is very difficult, and trying to be as involved with your baby as you can. Now, for anyone that has spent time in a neonatal unit, or for any medical professionals, you know how much the change of staff happens. And during that 15 hours or 14 hours that I was spending in there, I would interact with many, many members of their team, and also lots of other families in that unit as well. And very quickly, within the first sort of 48, 36 hours, I was asked the question of where my other twin was multiple times. Because she still said twin 1 on her notes, and I had to keep repeating my story. I had to keep telling people that Skye had passed away and that Callie was a surviving twin. But this actually, in the first few days, happened a few times. It was later on in that journey that happened a lot more. So as the nurses and the new doctors that were coming in read less of the notes that were in the front of the page, that question happened to come up time and time again. And I felt that I'd repeated myself maybe 100 times. Not only was I obviously dealing with a neonatal baby, but I was also organising a funeral, which is not something I'd even thought through when I was pregnant, which sounds crazy, but I hadn't even thought that part through. So now I was trying to navigate a funeral and a baby and neonatal, which is a journey on its own. And I wanted to scream from the rooftops when I walked back into that neonatal that day, when I was wearing that dress with butterflies on it and I looked like I'd gone to a party or something, or I'd been dressed up nice, and the looks from the other parents and the staff, I remember that feeling of thinking, I really wish you knew where I'd been. I wish there was something really obvious to tell you that this isn't my only baby, and that actually I was just at the funeral of my daughter. So those thoughts kind of stayed with me for quite a long time whilst we navigated the neonatal journey. And I never really quite figured out how I was going to make a difference until I was sat in the neonatal ward, and I'm pretty sure it was quite close to this last photo. Callie had become a lot stronger. She's still tiny, but she had become a lot stronger and a lot bigger. And at that time, there were 3 other sets of twins in that neonatal unit with me. So Callie was the only baby in there that didn't have a twin with them. So to everyone else in that unit, it looked like Callie was a singleton baby. And I remember everyone else talking about their twins and how difficult life was going to be, and the twin pregnancy, the twin pillows. And I was surrounded by these conversations, and these families had no idea what I'd been through. I hadn't built up enough of a relationship with them to talk them through my journey and what I was dealing with internally in my grief, that I wanted to scream it, but I had absolutely nothing left in me to be able to do that. And then it took a moment where all of the other babies were crying. Now, if you've ever spent time in the neonatal unit, that does not happen. They do not tend to cry. So when I say cry, they were probably all making some small noises, but a mum turned to me and said, "You're so lucky you don't have twins." And in her mind, I'm sure she meant it as a funny joke, as in her hands were full and it was going to be so difficult to deal with 2 screaming babies at home. But inside me, that broke everything I had. It broke me into a million pieces. And it was the first time that I remember leaving the neonatal unit at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I went straight home. And I was looking at all of the bereavement cards that I had, and they all had purple butterflies on it. And I was thinking, there has to be something that I can do that's going to tell these people the journey that I've been on without me having to say it. So that's where the purple butterfly came from. I picked the butterflies because they were on every single card that I'd got. If you think about anything with bereavement or loss, there's a lot of butterflies that are everywhere. So I picked the butterfly, and I thought purple was perfect because it was really bright, it was really visual, no one would miss it, but it was also suitable for a lot of situations. So I I ordered a purple butterfly sticker that arrived the next day, and I typed out a pretty basic poster, and I ordered the butterfly on Amazon, as I said, and I didn't go back to the neonatal unit that night. I actually stayed at home for the first time in eager kind of wait for this parcel to be delivered, and it came the next day. So when it arrived, I took it down to the neonatal unit, and I stuck that purple butterfly sticker on her cot, and I stuck the posters up, and I must have printed 5 or 6 of them, and I stuck them everywhere I could find them. I put one in the neonatal unit, I put one in the breastfeeding room, I put one on the door, I put it absolutely everywhere. And I walked back out and I went and got myself a coffee. And when I walked back in, the room felt like you could feel the shift in the change on how those parents felt. And in hindsight, I probably would have dealt with that very differently, because I'm sure I made them feel very uncomfortable. But for me, it gave me that reassurance that they knew that Skye had been born and that she survived. Not that she'd survived, that she had died and hadn't survived, and that actually I was a twin mum. And I was one of them, but I didn't have both of them with me. And that for me was everything. The biggest fear that I had was that Skye was going to be forgotten and everything would be focused on Callie, which is amazing, but actually that her twin sister would never be remembered. And everything I've done, and I hear this from a lot of families, is about how can we go and make a difference, but also how can I make my baby to be remembered? I don't want that to disappear. So I took this photo, and I took a photo of the poster, and I posted it on a social media page that I'd created at the time called Skye's Wish, which had about 10 friends in there. And I thought it was a private page. And I posted it in there. And then the next evening we were kind of ready to go home. So you can see the purple butterfly here, and we were starting to get ready to go home. And here's the post that I actually posted. And then we got ready to actually leave. My phone that evening that we went home went crazy. I've never had so many messages and phone calls and texts, to the point that I turned it off. I thought that everyone was super excited, the fact that Callie had come home, and I just was a bit overwhelmed with that, let alone realising that actually my post on Facebook at the time had gone viral. And it had been picked up by the press, and it had just exploded. I had millions of views and hundreds of thousands of comments of everyone saying, what an amazing thing that you've created. We need this. I want it in my hospital. This country should do it. In actual fact, at the time, I had just created a purple butterfly and I had put a poster up. I'd never dreamt of it being such a huge thing in the world. So I took a few days of trying to navigate what had just happened, and then it started to get released out into the press, and the things that were being written were mum creates charity, mum creates purple butterfly and rolls it out into hospital. I hadn't even spoken to the hospital at this point, so you can imagine how that went. But I very quickly made a decision on, I can either turn around and say, actually, I just put a purple butterfly in there for me, but I'm not going to do any more. Or I can listen to these hundreds of thousands of families that have commented on something that they wanted this, and I can go and make it to be something. So I made the decision at that point to spend my maternity leave campaigning to make this something and create a charity. And that's when I created the Skye High Foundation in June 2016. And at that time, it wasn't an official charity. It was just something I was creating. I was paying myself to print out these butterflies, get them all cut out and the posters, and posting all of them off. And I continued throughout my maternity leave to go around the country doing BBC interviews and radio interviews to let everyone know about the purple butterfly. A friend started to make blankets, and I really felt quite quickly how big this was going to grow to. It expanded beyond any level I could ever imagine. And very quickly it was being picked up by countries all around the world. And I then had to make a decision as I went back to work on what I was going to do next, and what was this going to look like, trying to juggle a full-time role at work, a small baby, and I was actually pregnant again at this point with my little boy Luca. And how was I going to make this something? Nick Embleton at the time had reached out to say that they had been doing research, incredible research, and creating a purple butterfly as well. And I couldn't believe that they had been researching from a family element and a staff training perspective on how staff could be more aware on what was going on. And I had looked at it on how can I make these other families more aware of what had been happening. So we very quickly partnered together, and it's been an incredible partnership since. We, in 2019, made the decision that I would take on all of the distribution within the UK. Nick would continue to research and do staff training calls, and we've worked amazingly together. So the charity's changed quite a lot over time. We then started to get a lot more documents printed. We got family support leaflets. We got posters printed. We got everything you could imagine. And it grew to a scale that I was probably not ready for. So I brought in some directors into the charity, and we created it as an official registered non-profit business. And then in 2020, we received our charity status. The charity now looks very different. We have changed the memory boxes, and we've changed the Cot Cards instead of the stickers. Our family support leaflets are so much better. And we now have sent out boxes to every single neonatal unit within the UK. We're about 50% through the maternity units. We are sending out hundreds and hundreds of these every quarter, and thousands every single year. The support from staff around the world has been amazing, and the families that we've reached out to have become lifelong friends. That this is a connection you build that is very unique. There's not many times that you're battling grief and love and happiness and sadness and everything at the same time. So the purple butterfly means so much more than just the butterfly. This is recognition, it's remembrance. And for these families, it becomes something that stays with them for the rest of their life. And the thing I love about it most is that whether it's a purple butterfly in London, or it's a purple butterfly in New York City, or it's a purple butterfly over in Hawaii, as long as the poster explains it, everyone understands. And my goal has become to grow this around the world and continue to support families. We've got an incredible team of volunteers. We've got people all around the world that are wanting to help us. As you can see, we're sent photos all of the time from all different families. The US charity has been set up quite differently. We're working with our ambassadors around the country, and that's quite a new kind of structure that we're working there. We've had to amend a lot of the documentation and the work that we're doing, but I'm really excited for what that future looks like. And we often get comments from families on what the purple butterfly has meant to them. You can see a few of them at the top, but I'll read them out. One family said, "It gave me light when I was in the darkest days." Another said, "It's protection to my family's recent trauma." Another family said, "Everyone understood without questions being asked." And then the other one that I have on here is the acknowledgement of one that couldn't be there. It represents not forgetting for me. So for me, the passion that I have is going out to deliver this to as many neonatal units around the world. This should be something that is readily available. It's a purple butterfly and it's a poster at the bare minimum. If possible, we want to get our memory packs and family support packs out there as well, but this should be a recognised symbol around the world. The work is going to continue with Nick Embleton and his research team, and they are continuing to do fantastic research and have now started to look at the impact later on in life for these families. So we are going to continue pushing this everywhere that we can. And yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy journey and probably not one that I expected to be as big as it is, but it's an incredible memory for Skye, and actually we've supported so many families. I can't see that ever changing. Thank you.
Hi, Millie. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and congratulations on this incredible project. I listened to you and what came out of your story. It's so beautiful and inspiring to many of us who go through very difficult challenge in our lives, and what can we do after that. You are a great example of what can you do out of a tragedy to inspire others, to support other families coming after you, and realize your story was not in vain, right? Skye's life, she came, there was a purpose for her, and you created this beautiful charity that is spreading across the world. So congratulations on that. It's really amazing. And so let's talk a little bit about the uptaking on hospitals, because it was so organic how that happened in UK. But what is the uptake in other countries, and how are you supporting those other NICUs that are not in UK?
So it's been a bit of a learning journey. The UK is very different because we do have the NHS, and what tends to happen here is once one takes it up, the rest kind of follow. And it's been, I wouldn't say an easy journey. We've certainly learned a lot over the past 10 years. But America has been a very different kind of concept. So again, I've learned a lot about America. We are certainly we're getting there with it, but I've probably also learned quite a lot on what doesn't work. So the hospitals really need to understand the benefit to the families. So how much of an impact this has on them, and actually how simple this is to roll out. So to get the main parts to roll out is you have to have all of the resources there and readily available. There's no point saying we are going to have the purple butterfly and not have those. When you need it, you need it. And this isn't something that you need in, is that my noise? Sorry. That's not something that you need in a couple of days' time. When you have a family that are extremely sad and they've just lost the baby, they need it right now. The other main coaching part that we've had is how do we make sure that families are given the option? This isn't something that is just placed into the baby's cot. So we've had to do a lot of coaching and training, and we've created online webinars that we do. We also host, we've got all of our online training guides. We also link back to Nick's resources, which is so powerful. I think anyone gets on a call with Nick Embleton, and you want to do it. He's just phenomenal, and he's been such an amazing partner to have on board with us. So we're hosting online webinars. Any hospital that wants to get involved, I'm happy to jump on a call with them, Nick also. But the main part is going to be Nick's training resources and all his guidelines that he's set out, which are really simple in a rollout, but it's all focused on understanding why, understanding how to approach that family, and understanding really kind of the work that's in the background of the purple butterfly. It's just not saying things like, at least you still have one. Those kind of comments, and that's really the impact that it can have. It stops someone in their tracks and they think, should I say that? Should I be saying that? So the rollout everywhere else is challenging, obviously, because there's a few things that we've had to do. We have to amend those documents into the right kind of, the language and the terminologies has to be correct, but really it's how we roll it out into there. So America is really all focused on that training and making sure they have those resources, the guidelines, because every single hospital works differently. So you can't apply the same way of working to every hospital. They are going to have to take that away and figure that out. And then we're there to answer any questions that they have. All of our resources are free. So this is a completely free service to any hospital in the world. How that looks may change. So if it's in the UK, they will receive an actual box from us. If it's in America, they will receive a smaller parcel because we've only just started there. And anywhere else, we're able to send those PDF documents out to them.
It's so important, the training piece. Actually, Nick did a Preemie chat with us back in August, a few weeks ago, to talk about the training, because it is so important that the terminology, how you're going to approach the families, and having the entire unit on the same page with this, right? Because I remember when I was in the NICU, I also had a surviving twin. My twin A, Michael, didn't make it to the NICU, and I had on Gabriel's bedside twin B, Gabriel, and I also had a few times, oh, where is twin A? And it was not somebody who worked in the NICU. It was actually a doctor from the neonatal follow-up clinic that came into the unit. So it is a multidisciplinary team training. People who are in the NICU, but also the external people who come to visit the NICU or come to see the baby for whatever reason, especially as they come from different hospitals, because it is a very traumatic experience, right? When somebody comes and says, okay, your other twin, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, or maybe we just want to be present with that surviving baby for the time being. And it's like all these things keep coming to you all the time. So training is such a key component of this initiative, as you mentioned, and Nick had also mentioned back in August with us. I did share his website on the comments today of this live session, but your website is here with all
ours has a link to his. Ours has a link to his as well. Yeah, you're so right. It is all based on the training. And I think it also, where I've seen it work perfectly and a really streamlined, perfect rollout, is where you have the main people that are those decision makers in what happens in that NICU really buying into it. And they fully understand the benefit those families are going to get.
Absolutely. This is, I think, it's a key element. So, Millie, but now you were branching out to US, and you mentioned there's so many different NICUs, the way they practice in the NICUs, and I think you can share a little bit that we are planning to bring also this to Canada sometime next year. And we also have the same system that we have very individual NICUs doing their own thing. So for this particular NICUs that, we don't have this integrated system like you guys have in UK. So how is the rollout of such a program? Like, is it one-on-one? You go to the hospital, you wait for the hospital to come to you. Okay, I would like to be enrolled in this initiative, so you can send all the beautiful materials that you have.
You can do it multiple ways, to be honest with you. I think my preference would be to be involved with the hospital that are wanting to be involved. So the best way to roll out, especially if we were looking at doing, let's say, the whole of Canada as an example, is we would want to reach out to those hospitals, have the opportunity to invite them to a talk, explain to them exactly what it is, get them bought in and understanding the impact it's going to have. after that call, we would then give them the opportunity to basically agree to have the resources sent out. So the resources cost a fair amount to send out. So what we don't want to be doing is just posting a box out that gets lost. And if we do that, there's a huge risk that that training goes wrong. Someone picks it up and goes, this is great. They put it in and they don't discuss it with their colleagues. So the rollout part is really vital, that you get someone fronting that within the neonatal unit. So you need someone that's going to take charge on it. They're going to organise for their colleagues to all be a part of it. And then we can plan the rollout and training with them. My answer to that will be very different depending on what country you're asking me about. And I think it's really important for me to understand how those countries work. How do their neonatal systems work? How do they make decisions in what gets rolled out? Because if I try and apply the same logic as the UK, that's not going to work. And if I apply the same logic as America to Canada, it's not necessarily going to work. So for me, when I'm looking at any rollout plan, and as we've discussed, it's having someone over there that really work with to understand.
This is very important. Can you share a little bit about your memory packs? Because I received a sample and I loved it. I wish I had that when I lost Michael. Just for people who are not familiar with the organization, what it is in your memory pack and what do you send to hospitals?
So in the UK, we have little white memory boxes, and inside those we have one of the Cot Cards, because we found a lot of families to keep those in their memory shells. They didn't. There's loads of reasons why they would want those. We put another one of those in. We put a family support leaflet in, a small purple butterfly candle, a teddy bear, a pin badge, and wristbands, and most importantly, a small crochet purple butterfly. They're my favourite things, and actually originally our packs just started with those, and it was just simply a crochet butterfly. And we see families all the time with just the little photo of the crochet butterfly. This seems to be the bit that is the most important to everyone. And we've played around a lot with the items that go in there. For me, the most vital part are the Cot Cards, the Cot Cards and the family support. So I'm just going to show you the Cot Card now. So we have the Cot Card. And these two together, if that was all that was sent, would be amazing. We have added other items to those. In America, it looks slightly different. So we have the purple organza bags instead with the little teddies in there. And really we'll work again in each country to figure out what's right. And some places may not want the pin badges. Some places may not want the teddies. This is something that we can work, but the vital part is going to be that Cot Card and the small crochet butterfly. The reason I created those memory packs was I received quite a lot of them actually when I lost Skye, and they were beautiful and they were lovely, but there was nothing there that made me feel my surviving twins remembered too. And how does this play into, should everything be solely on loss? And am I right to be going down that path? I felt so stuck between, I should be happy because I have a surviving baby, but I'm really depressed and grieving, but nothing kind of fitted, and I didn't find anything that kind of made sense to me. So as beautiful as they were, that was the kind of time when I thought, okay, let's go and make something that someone's going to receive, and whether they have lost a twin or two triplets or one of their triplets, this works for them, and it's really going to get them to feel like they are part of a community that really understands the situation they're in, and it gives them something to put in their memory box or shelf or area that is specifically for their situation.
Oh, this is incredible. So we have a comment here from Lori. I work in a tertiary quaternary Canadian NICU, and we use a butterfly symbol for the surviving twins. We have a parental gratitude for that recognition. And she added, for our surviving multiples, we try to include their prints in the legacy creation for the baby who dies. Thank you, Lori, for sharing that experience. You can let us know which NICU you are. Maybe you can start with your NICU.
So what I found over the years is Nick and I have had many conversations on how do we do this? And this has never been about me. I have to roll this out, and this has to be done by the Skye High Foundation or Nick. this is a resource that is readily available around the world. So we have found lots of hospitals that have rolled it out. What I'm now trying to do is, if we have a situation like that where we have a NICU that has rolled it out, is just trying to just tweak slightly and make sure that the guidelines are being followed, and trying to get some of the Cot Cards in, so that we've got kind of the same way of working across the world. You are going to world. It's unlikely a family go from London to Canada, but between NICUs, that could potentially happen. So we need to make sure that we've got a uniform way of working, basically.
Okay, thank you. So Laurie, she's from Sick Kids, which is a very busy, big NICU here in Canada, one of the most important pediatric centers in the world. They just got a recognition of the best pediatric hospital in the world. So Laurie, congratulations on that. And it is incredible because a lot of babies end up as Sick Kids because they have several interventions. They are, oh my God, the word just disappeared from my head. Surgical babies. Yes, that's a word I was looking for. So it is very busy, and it's great that they have such initiative there, because many very sick babies end up in their NICU. But Millie, I want to thank you so much for this incredible work that you're doing. It's so beautiful to see, around the world, NICUs recognizing the purple butterfly, and us as families really being seen. Right? I think that is so important to that acknowledge that, yes, we are multiple babies, parents. We did have twins or triplets, which is often forgotten, right? Like not only the NICU, but also when you go home, like in 13 years that Gabriel's alive, and nobody ever recognized that Gabriel's a twin. Besides us as a family, that we, on the birthdays, we always, release balloons in the air. We talk about Michael's loss. There's beautiful books on losses, but it is something that became between us, right? The parents and the kids, but nobody else outside us talk about it and don't even acknowledge that. So it's very difficult for all the parents, and it's a silent discomfort a lot of times in our extended families, among our friends, or even like you do this work, I do this work, even with some healthcare providers. Sometimes it's a discomfort. Oh my God, like, can we talk about the loss and death in front of her because she lost one, right? As they know there is a truth behind. But the reality is, us parents, we never forgot our babies, the ones so not talking about it doesn't help.
It doesn't at all. And the amount of families that I hear from now, and I'm talking 5-10 years later, the purple butterfly has not only enabled them to have remembrance, but it's allowed an open door for their family to feel comfortable about talking about it. So even if it's a small gift on the birthday that's just a butterfly, or a birthday cake that has a little butterfly, it has allowed other people to open up that conversation and feel a little bit more comfortable. And even if they don't know what to say, finding a small gift with a butterfly on it shows that like remembrance. It's so much bigger than actually realize, and it stays with you forever. And this will be, obviously it will be with me forever, but I speak to thousands of families that this has become a huge part of their lives. We've seen tattoos of the butterfly. Everything has become something so vital to them. So it's a shame that it wasn't around years and years ago, but we can't look back on that. All I can do is try and make it better for everyone else and try and get this out there as much as we can.
Absolutely. And people can follow your work on your Instagram account. You have beautiful photos there, beautiful conversations happening. And I think we have to keep disseminating this very important project worldwide so our families feel supported. So Millie, thank you so much for being here with us today. Is your first, but I'm sure not the last time that you are here on the Preemie Chats, until I hope we will launch in Canada, and then we can really spread out to the world what's going to happen in our NICUs here. So thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
And to all of you watching us live today, thank you so much for joining this session of the Preemie Chats. And if you missed part of this session or want to revisit this conversation, you can find this episode and all past episodes of the Preemie Chats. We have almost 400 sessions on our YouTube channel and also on our website, which is the CanadianPreemies.org. I'm going to add the site here. And while you're there, you're also going to see that we have many resources and support options we offer to families on their NICU journey. And I want to do a special thank you to Zanuffi for their support on our education sessions. Also, CPBF is hosting its first gala, the Little Lights, Big Hearts, on November 6th in Toronto. If you are in town, you can join us by scanning the QR code here and gonna lead you to our page where you have all the information about our event. There will be raising funds to support mental health programs across Canada. And as a charitable organization, CPBF relies on the generous support of people like you. Your donation allows us to continue empowering families of premature babies every step of the way. Together, we can create a brighter future for all preemies and their families. So thank you again for being part of this community. And we'll see you again next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time for another live episode of the Preemie Chats. Stay well.